Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly forecast for November 2025. I'm going to give you some big themes to begin with for the month ahead, then share on screen your event chart. As November starts, always provides an influential backdrop for the whole period. I'll then go through each of the influences in detail to give you a clear picture of what to look forward to, which you can relate to in terms of your ascendant, sun, or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, we have found that over 50% of people regularly watch my videos and not subscribers. If that's you, please help it to continue to thrive and do so now. Please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. I've also published my year 2026 Aquarius deep dive forecast. You can enjoy that now by clicking the link beneath this video and get the inside track on what's going to happen with the fast approaching new year. So your two ruling planets of traditional Saturn and Uranus modern are very much in the mix this month, Aquarius, not least at the very start of the month in Uranus's case, because that continues to angle up brilliantly to Pluto in your sign. So there's some mutual receptivity. Uranus starts the month in Gemini, quick communications, and your ability to be very progressive and inventive, really helped by Uranus, but also Mercury, the planet of communication in the expansive Sagittarius, is in an opposition to Uranus, but linking back to Pluto. So you could have some very meaningful, but also some very exciting connections as this new month begins. Saturn, your other ruler, has been retracing his steps since July the 11th, initially in the part of your chart to do with everyday communications, your ideas and belief systems, anything to do with technology. If you did encounter some issues with, my power supply on my computer is very dodgy, you have to just push it right and rock the computer to get the computer to come on. Classic Saturn in the third house. But of course, since the 1st of September, it's gone back into Pisces, where it's not that happy. And broadly over the last couple of years, Saturn has provided some challenges for Aquarius folks, particularly around everyday money, anything to do with sugar, my penchant for late night snacks, of course, and just life foundations, but also being a bit harsh about our self-worth, but also an opportunity to work on all those areas. Saturn goes direct on the 28th of this month, so that's great news. But if we go back to when Jupiter, the planet of luck, moved into the 6th house at the end of week 1 of June, it came into a ferocious right angle with Saturn. If we go back the year before that, they were on bad terms, 3 times exactly. So in fact, growth against restriction has not been great. And of course, because Jupiter was in the area Gemini before, particularly for Aquarius people, so you may have felt quite thwarted over the last couple of years, perhaps around money. But at the very start of this month, Aquarius, Saturn is forging a delicious link with the assertive Mars, but also the aforementioned Jupiter. Because you have that rare mix of progressiveness and an understanding of continuity, because of your two rulers being very different, you can use that energy to strike very positively around an ambition. It might be getting a new job, a new client. It may be about raising your profile on social media, but it will be in a meaningful way. It's not going to be in a frivolous way. People are becoming much more conscious of what you have to offer. So that's, I feel, the big theme. We do have a full moon on the 5th, a new moon on the 20th. The full moon could see you having to balance work-life. That's a theme for most of us, it seems. but the 20th can really see you reach for the stars and go for that golden prize. Very, very exciting. But what does the event chart say at the very start of the month? So just before I share your chart on the screen at the start of the month, if you've yet to order your unique personal forecast for year 2026, you can do so now and get the rest of this year free. You'll also get your life roadmap reports, which gives searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life journey so far, and how you can use a greater knowledge of that to steer your future moves along with those forecast transits. And you'll get your free gift of your general love and Chinese and Indian written forecasts for the year ahead, but the overall package is 30% off. Please see below for more. So it's on screen now. So let's take the Sun to begin with, the luminary in chief, the king, and he's right at the top of your chart saying, come on, Scorpio energy can maybe be seen as being a bit secretive, but for you it's about determination, grit. It's about willing to change things. Yes, it's a fixed sign, but it's also has an appetite for conflict, but not necessarily bad conflict. Challenging the things that we have maybe blockages around, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And proud Mars, the traditional ruler of the sign, which I've just mentioned, is in that great link you can see with Saturn and Jupiter, the ground water trine, is also pushing you to raise your profile, to be more assertive, to have the confidence to let people know your leadership skills. So that's all fantastic. But what about the moon, the other luminary? Well, that's actually on brilliant terms with the sun. They're in a trine, almost perfect. The moon in Pisces is clearly very sensitive. The moon in Scorpio can be sensitive, so it's definitely saying stay in touch with your emotion. What else is going on? We can see Pluto there. Having gone through its long retrograde, where it inverted 2.5 degrees, just on that first house cusp, but look at the position of Uranus, 1st, 5th, so transformation, Pluto, innovation, Uranus, but let's look at the position of Mercury in the part of your chart which can be about collaboration. It is in an opposition with Uranus. I think that can create quite a lot of excitement, to be honest. Something can happen quite quickly, and it may require you to use a talent that not all zodiac signs have, and that is to balance your need to be an individual and express yourself authentically, but also being able to be part of a team. So that's an excellent alliance, particularly with Mercury back to Pluto. Your ability to cut through, understand things, the big picture, but also, really get to the nub of things in a very skillful way. That's all very much to the fore. Is there any challenges? Well, Venus is in your 9th house, which can be idealistic. It is at home in the sign of Libra, but it is in a quincunx with Saturn. This suggests to me that you shouldn't be too idealistic about money. Although money can improve this month with the help of that ground water trine at the start of the month and a ground water trine towards the end of the month once Saturn comes out of its retrograde but links with Venus, I think that Venus quincunx with Saturn at the very start of this month suggests it will be just important to use that earthier, realistic vibe of Saturn to just stay grounded. You can, definitely tell people what you need and you want, but you can't be too idealistic about it. I think that's really the takeout. So let's go through the influences in detail. So on the 4th, Mercury moves out of that stunning grand water trine and moves into the sign of Sagittarius, which Sagittarius and Aquarius energies have commonalities. Both like independence, both like freedom, don't give it up easily, can also align to other people in a way where it can be fun and engaging. So that Mars influence links with Pluto straight away. And of course it's joining up with Mercury, and the 11th house is about our future hopes. but it can be about a friendship situation as well. You may find that if you do work somewhere, it's an organisation where there's more than a few of you, you might be socialising with some of your colleagues this month, and it could prove to be great fun. But Mars there will definitely sort of give you a real desire to expand, because that's what Sagittarius is about, but expand in ways that suit your higher purpose. Now on the 5th there is a full moon in the 4th. It's in a sign it loves to be in, Taurus, exalted, but opposite the sun in house 10. So if you're really going for it around those ambitions, you just need to make sure with this full moon that you're servicing your emotional needs, you're getting enough rest. You can remember what your family look like, not burning the midnight oil too much. It is important to have some rest and recuperation before we go again. So that is generally a very positive new moon, because the North Node links to both the sun and the moon very helpfully, and the moon loves being in Taurus. Now on the 6th, Venus makes its way right to the top of your chart, and of course Mars had been coursing its way through your 10th house until the 4th for the previous 6 or 7 weeks. So you may have been sort of linking up with influential people, pitching and being very determined and thrusting and self-confident. Venus helps you to add a layer of charm and diplomacy on top of that thrust. Very, very helpful, but does clash with Pluto almost immediately. It's very important when Venus and Pluto are in conflict that we understand how the flattery and charm of Venus can be perceived with Pluto in the mix as somewhat conniving or leveraged charm in order to get something. So just be conscious of that. The 8th, however, does see Uranus rewind back into the 4th house. If you have gone through very disruptive stuff about where you live, like we have, like moving 3 times, since Uranus moved into Taurus for the first time, if you recall, middle of May 2018 for 5 months, oh my word. Or there has been sort of lots of chopping and changing in terms of family affairs or your emotional needs. Wouldn't be a surprise, but Uranus moving back here, you've had that 7 years of experience now. Maybe you can push over the line something you've really wanted to achieve all along, which is being at peace with your inner world, but also how your inner world reflects your true authenticity, because that's important for Aquarius people. The 9th, however, does see Mercury go into a retrograde. Now it's going to be in retrograde in Sagittarius initially through to the 19th, when it inverts back into your work sector, the 10th house. There could be a few crosswires, misunderstandings, maybe getting together with a group of friends, last minute cancellation. But as ever, Mercury retrogrades offers an opportunity if we're willing to push through the door. Some people get so bound up with the idea you can't do anything through a Mercury retrograde. I really don't agree with that. Mercury retrogrades, including the pre and post retrograde shadow, are nearly 10 weeks each time, for 3 this year, 30 weeks a year. We can't stop everything through those 30 weeks. We can try and make sure that we're punctilious and precise, Mercury, around the things we can control, and also we communicate, Mercury, clearly, effectively, and we check that whatever email or message we send has been understood in the way that we wanted it to be. So those are the things we can influence. But the 11th does see Jupiter go retrograde, but Jupiter was in that shocking right angle with Saturn over the last year and a half. It's now, they're on good terms. Let's take it. Jupiter in the 6th house. Don't push too hard physically around work. And the 12th does see Mercury, despite the retrograde, coming together with Mars in a conjunction. You might find that if someone is in any way stymieing something that you feel really, really engaged and invested in, it can really annoy you. But if you do fire off and articulate how you feel, people probably will see it as being quite real. That's not a bad thing. Mercury inverting back into Scorpio suggests that if you have tried to do something where you're collaborating with others, it hasn't quite worked, you could feel that you're going back to the drawing board from the 19th to the 29th. But keep the faith, because on the 20th, a most incredibly positive new moon. I know that the moon in Scorpio is in its fall, which can be a challenging thing. But I think for you, because they're both the moon and the sun are supported by Jupiter and Saturn in that grand water trine, and Venus is pretty close in the mix as well, there's much to be gained from that new moon, but particularly when it comes to success. Now, I do recognise not everybody's success is linked to their professional sphere. It can be to do with looking after the grandkids. It can be pursuing interests or hobbies. It could be to do with local activities such as volunteering or taking part in community projects. Very Aquarius, but the 10th house is you being in the role of some kind of leader or putting a lot of commitment in. So anything along those lines, whatever you're really feeling the passion from, it can be amplified positively on that new moon. The 22nd, however, sees the sun move into Sag, linked with Pluto. And the sun and Pluto angles positively are very transformational, because the sign of Sagittarius is about the future, and Pluto in Aquarius is about your personal identity and your body. Something can shift either internally or externally in a radically dynamic way, which could hugely delight you. Saturn ending its retrograde on the 28th could, particularly with Venus in the mix, linking back to Saturn and Jupiter, bring some really good news financially, which I think can really lift your spirits. Mercury going direct on the 29th, you'll take that. On the 30th, Venus joins up with the Sun and Mars in Sagittarius. So although this month does have this big professional worldly interaction, it definitely has a growing trend towards your connections to others, something you have a talent for, I feel. Lots of Aquarius people have different types of friends. Some friends that would never really rub along with one another, because Aquarius people can accept that not everyone needs to be like them, which is lovely, I think. And so your ability to be true to you, take a lead, but also know when to be more collaborative and, knit in with others can be such an advantage. And really right at the end of the month, I think, obviously once Mercury emerges from the post-retrograde shadow on the 17th December, there's a much more sociable vibe coming for you in early December, to be honest. And if you do want to get into the festivities and meet up, mix and mingle, and celebrate some of your gains, rewards and breakthroughs, why not? So the end of this month, I think, can be a time to feel very confident and positive, Aquarius. Please do check out your year 2026 deep dive forecast below. And thank you for joining me, and have a lovely November.